face, it is scalp. So before that, just when we go to the dissection, we remove the scalp skin. So it is clinically important that scalp, it is very clinically very important, because there are the several clinical conditions or the accidental part. You know that the maximum deaths are due to the head injury. Okay, so this is the clinically oriented important topic. Is this is a scalp. So scalp, or it is also called the temple and the face. All three things, they are important. They are important areas of the head, and therefore they are studied thoroughly. So we are studying with the scalp. So you know that the injuries, they are frequently mostly occur in this area. So these nature of injuries, they are varied from the superficial wounds to deep wounds. So in this area, you can see the superficial wound as well as the deep wounds. So as this area, it is covered with the hair, thick hair. So the lesions of these sides, they are unnoticed. Sometimes they are unnoticed by the people. So infection from these unnoticed wound, they can and spread through inside the cranial cavity through these venous channels. So that's why that spreading of infection, that may causes the fatal consequences. So that's why it is important. Now you can know that face, it is a very you can say it is a very commonest site for the plastic surgery. So, okay, so why this plastic surgery is done? To enhance the beauty or to repair the congenital anomalies or congenital defects or defects which are produced by the injuries. So you can say the simple inspection of the face, it provides the substantial clue for the various number of underlying diseases. So you can say that you can say with the help of the conjunctiva, you can see the pallor. Okay, so there are the various clinical things. From that, only after inspection you can just add to and you can just add to diagnosis, and here you can hear about the clinical condition by inspecting the face. So properly, we are just going with the scalp. Scalp, it is applied, the term, it is applied to the soft tissue covering the vault of the skull. Vault means cranial cavity का जो ऊपर वाला part रहेगा उसको vault कहेंगे. So scalp, it is a soft tissue covering the upper part of the vault. So what is the extent of the scalp? So you can see these are the eyebrows. जब बोन आप पढ़ेंगे, बोन में नॉर्मा फ्रंटालिस, नॉर्मा लैटरालिस, नॉर्मा verticalis and norma basalis, norma occipitalis. These are the areas which are covered in the osteology. And if face का जो part है, so in case of bone, it is called the norma frontalis. ये वाला जो part रहेगा, this is the norma frontalis in case of osteology. जब osteology पढ़ेंगे तो this part it is the norma lateralis. This part, ये ऊपर वाला जो part रहेगा, that is the norma verticalis. पीछे वाला जो part है, that is norma occipitalis. और skull का जो नीचे वाला part है, that is the norma basalis. So all these parts, they are covered in the osteology. So you may confuse with some terminology, or you are not aware of some terminology which I use. So yeah, that will be covered in the osteology part. Now what is the extent of the skull? So anteriorly you can see ये grey color वाला जो part दिख रहा है, that is the extent of the skull. Okay. It is not. Can you visible all the words here? Are you visible? There is visibility of all words.
नहीं मैम, वो समझ में क्या लिखा है? एंटीरियरली पोस्टीरियरली शायद लैटरली था ना, वहाँ वो दिख रहा है, बट ए पी और एल नहीं दिख रहा है.
हाँ, तो देयर यानी ये सामने के वर्ड्स मिसिंग है, यानी यहाँ पे आपका पूरा स्क्रीन शेयर नहीं हो रहा है ना?
हाँ मैम, नहीं हो रहा है उतना ही.
एक मिनट आई विल जस्ट Correct? So nobody is there. I will just read that. Okay, so extend, first word is extend. You can see here anteriorly. So this anterior part. So anteriorly, you can see this is the eyebrows. So eyebrows के ऊपर जब bony parts में जाएंगे, so there will be the superciliary arches. So this is the superciliary arch. So anteriorly it extends up to the eyebrows, or you can say the superciliary arch. I am audible ना?
हाँ मैम पॉसिबल है.
Okay. Then coming to the posterior part, you can see this is the posterior part. So posteriorly, it is up to the superior knuckle lines. There are the demarcations or the lines on the posterior aspect of the skull. So that lines, there are the superior knuckle lines, inferior knuckle lines. So posteriorly, scalp extend up to the superior. Laterally, again, there are the temporal lines. So that is called these superior temporal lines. So anteriorly, there is superciliary arch. Posteriorly, there is superior knuckle line. And laterally, there is the superior temporal line. So this is the extent of the scalp. Scalp पे long question आता है. तो you should be ये thoroughly आपको ये topic करना है. So ये हो गया इसका extent. Now coming to the layers of the scalp. So layers of the scalp, there are 5 layers. That is the skin, connective tissue, aponeurosis, loose areolar tissue, and the pericranium. So these are the 5 layers. So we will study one by one. So this sequence of this layer, you can remember that SCALP. Scalp itself means the S for skin, C for connective tissue, A for aponeurosis, L for loose areolar tissue, and P for the pericranium. So these are the 5 layers you can remember with the help of the mnemonic, that is the scalp itself. Now this is the diagram which is showing the layers of the scalp. You can see first layer it is the skin, second layer it is a connective tissue, third layer it is the aponeurosis, fourth layer it is the loose areolar tissue, and the fifth layer which covers the bone, that is the periosteum, that is the outer side, it is called the pericranium, and on the inner side it is called the endocranium. Okay, so skin, connective tissue, aponeurosis, loose areolar tissue, and the pericranium. So we will see now one by one. So first layer it is the skin. Hello.
मैम प्लीज ये कीर्ति राज का माइक ऑफ कर दीजिए, उसकी वजह से डिस्टर्बेंस हो रहा है. 61 रोल नंबर.
क्या?
हाँ बस.
मैम 61 रोल नंबर कीर्ति राज का माइक चालू है.
सो ऑफ करो. रोल नंबर 61 माइक ऑफ करो. नाउ इट इज
हो
ओके.
गया मैम, अब सही आवाज आ रही है.
हाँ सही है ना अभी? ओके.
हाँ जी.
So now the first layer it is skin. So as you know, the scalp की जो skin है, it is thick skin and it is hairy skin. Okay. So except the part over the forehead. Forehead पे you cannot get the hairs and it is thin skin. So mostly whole of the scalp it is thick and hairy except on the area over the forehead. Now this skin it is firmly adherent to the epicranial aponeurosis. And ये जो 3 layer है ऊपर की, skin, connective tissue and epicranial aponeurosis. And ये वाली जो first layer, second layer और third layer, ये तीनों layer जो दे एक में से एडरेंटली दे चिपके रहते हैं, सो दैट दे कैन एक्ट एज अ ओनली वन लेयर. जब भी अपन स्काल्प का डिसेक्शन करते हैं या स्काल्प को निकालना रहता है और ऑपरेशन टाइम पे, so it remove or it is separated as a one layer only: skin, connective tissue and aponeurosis. These three layers, they cannot be separated from each other. They are adherent to each other. They cannot be separated. So just remember that it is firmly adherent to the epicranial aponeurosis by this dense connective tissue. So this dense connective tissue, this is of the superficial fascia. So as in palms and the soles, जैसे अपन palms और soles में जैसे देखे थे अपन ने skin को, it is adherent to the superficial fascia. वैसे ही यहाँ पे skin और aponeurosis, they are adherent to each other with the help of this dense connective tissue. Now as this skin, it is hairy, it contains, hair के साथ रहेंगे maximum number of the sebaceous gland. So as आपकी स्काल्प की स्किन as it is hairy, so it is there contains the maximum number of the sebaceous gland. So whenever there it is the infection of these hair follicles, so there may be the infection of the sebaceous gland to give the commonest site for the sebaceous cyst. So scalp, it is the commonest site for the sebaceous cyst. And here there are also, it contains the number of the or numerous sweat gland. So first clinical important है इसका, that is the sebaceous cyst. It is the commonest site, that is scalp. It is the commonest site for the sebaceous cyst, as there are number of hairs, and hairs, they are associated with the sebaceous gland. You know that. Now you can see that there are the estimated hair that are about 120 lakh hairs on the scalp of an adult individuals. So उसमें से about 20 to 100 hair, they are lost daily and replaced frequently, and concomitantly they are replaced mostly all the hairs. Now there is another condition that is called the baldness. So that is baldness, it is nothing but the loss of hair, which mostly affects the male, and it also affects elderly females with जिनके इसमें high level of androgen होता है in their blood. So there is the baldness is another condition where there is the loss of hair. So mostly it is over the scalp. So this is another clinical condition, that is the baldness. Now coming to the second layer, that is the connective tissue layer, or the, you can say, the superficial fascia. So here the superficial fascia of the scalp, it is mostly made up of the dense connective tissue. And this dense connective tissue, it is bind the skin with the underlying epicranial aponeurosis. जो नीचे वाला aponeurosis का layer है प्लस वह फर्स्ट लेयर जो स्किन वाला है, ये दोनों को कनेक्ट करने वाला रहेगा सुपरफिशियल फेशिया का डेंस कनेक्टिव टिश्यू. तो ये आपका जो इपिक्रैनियल एपोन्यूरोसिस है, इट इज नथिंग बट द एपोन्यूरोसिस ऑफ द मसल दैट इज कॉल्ड द ऑसिपिटोफ्रंटालिस मसल. ऑसिपिटोफ्रंटालिस मसल और इट्स एपोन्यूरोसिस को ये वाला स्किन लेयर इट इज adherently, firmly adherent. Now you can see here the fibrous septa divide this layer into the numerous small pockets. You can see here numerous, ये गोल गोल जो दिख रहे हैं ये small pockets. So here fibrous septa divides this layer into numerous pockets which contain the fat lobules of the fat. So you can see here red and blue color. So the blood vessels and the nerves of the scalp lie in this layer. Okay. So here the superficial layer, here you can see the numerous blood vessels and the nerves, they are lying in this dense connective tissue of this superficial fascia. Now these vessels, they enter from below the periphery. यानी ये आपके सेंटर से एंटर नहीं होंगे, ये साइड से एंटर होंगे. यानी स्काल्प का लैटरल साइड जो रहेगा वहां से they are entering and gathering towards the center. So you should know that this part, because whenever there is the blood loss, so you have to encircle your scalp to tighten the, and you can say to stop the blood loss from the scalp. यानी ये पेरीफेरी से, जैसे अभी आपका पेरीफेरी से ये ब्लड फ्लो होते जा रहा है टू द सेंटर ऑफ द पार्ट, तो जब आप पूरे हेड को एनसर्कलन करेंगे तो आपके ब्लड वेसल जो है वो कॉम्प्रेस हो जाएंगे, सो दैट यू कैन प्रिवेंट द ब्लड लॉस, और जहां से भी ऊजिंग हो रहा है. So that's why this part, the blood flow, it is from the periphery, it is important. Now another thing that this wall of this vessel, it is adherent to the fibrous network. यहाँ पे fibrous network ज्यादा होने की वजह से ये wall of the जो vessels है, it is adherent to the fibrous network. So whenever this blood vessel it is torn or cut during injury, so they are unable to retract. अगर ये सिर्फ फैटी टिश्यू में है तो दे वेसल्स दे आर ऑटोमेटिकली रिट्रैक्ट, बट एज द वॉल ऑफ दिस वेसल इट इज एडहेरेंट टू दिस fibrous tissue, it is non contractile, so they are unable to contract, and that's why they cause the profuse bleeding. So here the bleeding can be stopped by the pressing against the underlying bone. तो यहाँ पे जो स्काल्प पे जो ब्लीडिंग होता है, so that cannot be stopped automatically. It can be stopped by pressing or giving pressure over that area, avulsed area, so that we can stop the bleeding. Why these 2 points are important, that the blood is flowing from periphery and the fibrous septa, they are connected with the, or they are adherent to the wall of the blood vessels. Because periphery से जा रहे हैं तो periphery अपन एक tourniquet tie कर सकते हैं periphery of the skull, so that the blood flow can be prevented. So ऊपर जो लीकेज हो रहा है ब्लड का, that can be stopped by the applying the pressure with the help of this tourniquet. Okay. और यहाँ से this retraction, ये तो retract होएगा नहीं, it cannot be stopped at its own. That's why we have to give the pressure because of this fibrous adherent to the vessel wall. So this is the, you can say, the anatomical explanation why there the scalp bleeding and a scalp bleeds profusely, or why the pressure can be applied over the scalp to stop the bleeding from the injury. So this is about the second layer, that is the connective tissue layer. Now coming to the third layer. So third layer, it is the epicranial aponeurosis, or you can say the aponeurosis. So mostly this layer, it is formed by the occipitofrontalis muscle and its aponeurosis. So there is the third layer, the one muscle is there, that is called the occipitofrontalis muscle. So occipitofrontalis muscle, it consists of the 4 small bellies. Okay, so there are the 2 frontal bellies and the 2 occipital bellies. So when you dissect the scalp, you can see the frontal bellies, they are small, and the occipital bellies, they are large. So this greater part of this layer, it is mostly formed by this aponeurosis. And scalp के ऊपर वाला जो part है, that will be mostly covered by the aponeurosis. आगे आपको सिर्फ eyebrows के ऊपर थोड़ा सा muscular part दिखेगा, that is the frontal belly, और पीछे के side में आपको थोड़ा muscular part दिखेगा, that will be the occipital belly. So greater part of this layer, it is mostly covered by the aponeurosis, and that's why it is called the aponeurotic layer. Now this aponeurosis of this occipitofrontalis, it is also called the epicranial aponeurosis. Other name it is called the galla aponeurotica. Galla means that is the, in Latin word, it is called the helmet. Now the wound of the skull, एक बार wound हो गया, this wound of the skull, there is no gapping in the wound of the skull unless the epicranial aponeurosis, it cut transversely. And ये wound को खुल जाना जो बोलते हैं ना, ये wound खुली की खुली ही रहना, so that is called the gaping of the wound. So it is not happen over the skull unless this epicranial aponeurosis, it is cut transversely, because this aponeurosis is under tension in antero-posterior direction, यानी सामने से लेके पीछे तक इसका जो टेंशन है, that is in antero-posterior direction. So by this, यानी आगे भी मस्कुलर पार्ट है और पीछे भी मस्कुलर पार्ट है, so इसका जो टेंशन रहेगा, that is in antero-posterior direction. So that's why there is no gapping of the wound unless it is cut transversely. Transversely cut हो गया तो उसका टेंशन रिलीज हो जाएगा. So that's why you will get the gaping of the wound when it is cut transversely. Or you can say from lateral to lateral ये cut हो गया so there will be the gaping. From anterior to posterior अगर scalp wound है, so there will be the no gaping of the scalp wound. Now coming to the third layer, that is the loose areolar tissue. So here in the loose areolar tissue, this is the, you can say this layer, it is mostly made up of, as the name indicate, it consists of, or you can say it is mostly made up of the loose areolar tissue. Now here it serves as a natural plane of the cleavage during the craniotomy. तो ये अभी तीनों लेयर हो गए अपनी, स्किन, superficial fascia, or you can say the dense connective tissue and epicranial aponeurosis. ये तीनों लेयर तो एक साथ adherent है, तो जब भी आपको सर्जरी करना पड़ता है तो this fourth layer, that is the loose areolar tissue, it acts as a plane of cleavage. And जब भी आप स्किन को इंसिजन देंगे तो आप directly go in this layer, so you can remove the skin. So you are directly going to the fourth layer, that is the loose areolar tissue. So in this layer mostly it is traversed by the emissary vein. And what is the emissary vein? So these veins, they are connecting the veins of second layer of the scalp with the veins of the intracranial dural venous sinuses. So the scalp vein, they are directly connected with the intracranial dural venous sinus. You can see this is the blue color, this is the skull vault. Skull की venous sinuses है, that is the intracranial dural venous sinuses. So these scalp की vein, they are directly connected with the dural venous sinuses with the help of these emissary veins. And these emissary veins, they are traversed by, so this layer, it is traversed by these emissary veins. So the infection of the scalp, they are directly go to the this intracranial dural venous sinuses with the help of this emissary vein. So this is again clinical part of the scalp. In the spread of infections from scalp to the intracranial dural venous sinuses. Now coming to the fifth layer, that is the pericranium. So pericranium, it is the fifth layer. Mostly it is formed by the periosteum of the bone, which is covered on the outer side. It is called the pericranium. Or inner side में जो रहेगा, that is the endocranium. So here this pericranium, it is loosely attached to the, you can say it is loosely attached to the bones, and it can be easily stripped from the bones. Okay, so here this pericranium, it is attached to the suture line. And जहाँ पे भी दो bones attach है, so it is attached to the suture line. You can say here this suture line से अभी जहाँ पे यहाँ पे आपको ये suture line दिख रही है, तो ये जो pericranium है ये यहाँ पे attach रहेगा, and from here with the help of sutural membrane it continue inside as a endocranium. Okay, so you can say this pericranium, it is fixed to the suture line. So यहाँ से ये एक part पे अगर infection हो गया और कुछ fluid जमा हो गया below the pericranium, it cannot be go to the other side because this pericranium, it is adherent to the suture line. Okay, so again we will go, the another conditions are there where the infections can spread. There are the clinical conditions, that is called the caput succidum and the cephalohematoma. So that difference we will see. So this is about the all 5 layers of the scalp. Now there we have heard about the one muscle, that is called the occipitofrontalis muscle. So occipitofrontalis muscle, so here sometimes the short note is asked. So occipitofrontalis muscle, what is the origin, insertion, nerve supply and action? So occipitofrontalis muscle, it consists of the two bellies, you know, that is the, this is the frontal bellies, and on posterior aspect there is the occipital bellies. So frontal belly, you can see here, it is, now you just listen. So here the frontal belly, it arises from the skin and the subcutaneous tissue over the eyebrows and the root of the nose. This frontal belly arises from the skin. It has no bony attachment over. Okay, so it arises from the skin and the subcutaneous tissue over the eyebrows and the root of the nose. And you can see the fibers, they are running backward. and these fibers, they are inserted over the epicranial aponeurosis. Okay, so you can say here there are the no bony attachment. Now these deeper fibers of the frontal belly, they merge with the procurus muscle which is present on the face. Okay, so there are the muscles, that is the procurus, corrugator supercilii and the orbicularis oculi muscles. So some fibers of this frontalis belly, it is they are merged with these all these muscles, that is the procurus, corrugator supercilii and the orbicularis oculi muscles. Now you can see these frontal bellies, they are longer as compared to occipital bellies. So these frontal bellies, they are longer, wider, and they are, you can see the distance between the two frontal bellies. They are partly united with each other along with these medial borders. But in case of occipital bellies, the two bellies, they are separated. Mostly they are separated. You can see there is the gap. Okay. So this is about the frontal bellies. Now occipital belly. So occipital belly, you can see these bellies, they arise from the lateral 2/3 of the superior knuckle line. You can see here, these are the occipital bellies. So occipital bellies, mostly they are arise from the lateral 2/3 of the superior knuckle line, and they extend forward and inserted over again the epicranial aponeurosis. You can see that these two occipital bellies, they are small and they are separated from each other. You can see considerable gap in the between the two occipital bellies. Okay, and this gap, it is filled by this again the epicranial aponeurosis. So this is about the origin and insertion of the occipitofrontalis muscle. Now, what is the nerve supply? Now here over the scalp and the face, the nerve supply and blood supply, it is important because scalp has a very rich blood supply and very much rich nerve supply. So this is important. Sometimes short notice as the blood supply of the scalp or the blood supply of the face or blood nerve supply of the scalp and the nerve supply of the face. So here the motor supply, or you can say the occipital belly, it is supplied by the posterior auricular nerve, which is a branch of the facial nerve. Whereas this frontal belly, you can see here, this is the posterior auricular nerve, that is it arises or it is coming behind the ear. That's why it is called the posterior auricular nerve, which is branch of facial nerve. Then frontal belly, you can see it supplied by the superior temporal branch of the facial nerve. So as it is coming from the temporal region, it is called the temporal branch of the facial nerve. Now what is the action of this occipitofrontalis muscle? So you can see the alternate contraction of frontal belly and the occipital belly. So it moves the scalp forward and backward over the vault of the skull. And एक के बाद एक बार फ्रंटल बेली कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रही है और एक बार ऑसिपिटल बेली कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो रही है. सो इट कैन मूव द स्काल्प टू एंड फ्रो. देन अगर सामने से एक्ट हो रही है तो द कॉन्ट्रैक्शन ऑफ फ्रंटल बेली इट कैन कॉजेस द wrinkling over the eyebrows. So you can see contraction from above and acting from above the contraction of frontal belly. So here you can raise your eyebrows over as the action. Mostly it is taking the surprise. जब आप surprise होते हो तो you can raise your eyebrows. So that action can be done by this frontalis bellis when it is acting from the front. When it is acting from the below और पीछे के side से act होती है तो this bellies they produce the wrinkles over the forehead. Mostly when you डर जाते हो तब that will be produce the wrinkles over the forehead. When acting from the behind, though there is the production of the wrinkles over the forehead, and when acting from the front side, so here it rises the eyebrows. So these are the actions of the occipitofrontalis muscle. Now coming to the applied aspect of the scalp. Now what is the surgical layer of the scalp? So surgical, you can see the first three layers, that is the skin, connective tissue and the aponeurotic layer. So these three layers, we have seen that they are firmly adherent to the each other, and they are cannot be separated from each other. So now these three layers, they are termed as the surgical layer of the scalp, or you can say the scalp proper. So these three layers, skin, connective tissue layer, and the aponeurotic layer, they are combinedly called as a surgical layer of the scalp or the scalp proper. Now, what is the clinical importance of this surgical layer of the scalp? As the layer of loose areolar tissue, as you know, it is freely mobile, and ये ऊपर वाली जो layer है, ये जो fourth layer है, उसके ऊपर freely mobile रहती है. So this scalp proper, it is freely mobile over the loose areolar tissue. Okay, so it provides easy plane of the cleavage in injury. And here in that plane the blood may serve and blood यहाँ से आपका कहीं पे भी जा सकता है, because it is the plane where you can spread easily or you can separate the scalp from this plane. Okay, so whenever there what is the applied aspect? So whenever your heads or someone's hair, they are caught in a machine. जब भी किसी के पूरे बड़े हेयर रहते हैं तो जो that will be caught in a machine, तो जब पूरा जो स्काल्प खींच जाता है तो स्काल्प पूरा तीनों लेयर के साथ बाहर आ जाता है. So that scalp, it is caught in machine. So here पूरा जो स्काल्प बाहर आता है, that is called the scalp properly abused. Okay, so that is called the scalp properly abused. So here this is the another myth is there, that the Red Indians in bygone days, they are used to remove the scalp of their victims as a punishment. So it is the plane for the surgeon to mobilize the scalp, that is the loose areolar tissue, and the first three layers, they are act as only one layer. So fourth layer, it is the line of separation of the scalp. So it is important for the surgeon to mobilize the scalp. So this is the first applied aspect. Then second part, that is the black eye. So this is the feature of the avule scalp. You can see this is the area of the loose areolar tissue. यहाँ से जितना भी scalp remove हो गया है, it is with the three layers. So this is the picture showing the avule scalp. Then second part, it is the black eye. So black eye, again, it is another condition. When you go clinically, there are some in OPD or you casualty, you can see the person come with the head injury, blackish discoloration over the eye. So that condition, it is called the black eye. So how it is appearing or how it is produced? So blood and mostly blood, it is collected in the layer of the loose areolar tissue. Okay, scalp में ये जो भी fourth layer है, that is the mostly यहाँ पे there is collection, जो भी collection रहेगा, that will occur in this loose areolar tissue. So blood and fluid, it is collected in the loose areolar tissue whenever there is a blow on the head. So here what happened, there is the generalized swelling over the dome of the skull. So either you can say here, जब भी आप यहाँ पे injury हो जाती है, तो जो भी fluid collection रहेगा, that will be appear in this fourth layer. As we have seen that this frontal belly, it is attached to the skin. यहाँ पे bony margin, उसका bony attachment है नहीं, तो जो भी attachment रहेगा, it is with the skin. तो यहाँ पे जो collection है, यहाँ पे fourth layer में जो भी collection है, fluid का या blood का, that will travel over the face. Okay, यहाँ पे frontalis muscle का bony attachment नहीं है, तो that will travel over the forehead through it goes up to the superficial fascia of the skin covering the eye. तो यहाँ पे आके collect हो जाता है. ये पीछे की तरफ क्यों नहीं जाता? क्योंकि occipital belly का you have a bony attachment that is on the lateral aspect of the superior knuckle line. तो पीछे जाके भी वो पीछे के ज्यादा जा नहीं सकता. It has a restricted margin. So it comes over the face, over the skin, over superficial fascia, over the eyelid. So here the blood and the fluid it tracks over the eyelid, because here frontal belly it has no bony attachment anteriorly, and this leads to formation of the hematoma over the you can say formation of hematoma after the head injury or injury over the skull. So this black discoloration over the skin around the eyes, it is called the black eye condition. So mostly it gazed over the 10 to 12 hours, or you can say 24 hours after the blow over the head. So it is important that it is the commonest cause of the black eye. It is the local violence. So mostly whenever you get the medical legal conditions or medical legal cases, मारामारी की जो cases रहती है, that will mostly come with the black eye injury. So these are the local violence such as the fist fight causing by the subcutaneous extravasation of the blood into the eyelid. So this is again black eye. कभी-कभी black eye पे short note पूछा जाता है. Then another condition, you can see this is the picture, this is the female, it is the black eye. So you can see this is the hematoma over the eye. So this is the clinical picture of the black eye. Now there is the another condition that is called the dangerous area of the scalp. So here the layer of the loose areolar tissue, it is again called the dangerous layer of the scalp. As here there is the collection of blood and the pus, it is freely tend to collect in this layer. So as it pus collect in this layer, the infection may travel along with the emissary vein to the intracranial dural venous sinuses. We have seen that the emissary vein, they are traveling through this fourth layer, that is the loose areolar tissue. So अगर यहाँ पे pus collect हो गया और blood collect हो गया और it may get infected, so infection can spread to the intracranial dural venous sinuses through this area that is called the dangerous area of the face. So here you can say the infection may travel through the emissary vein to the intracranial dural sinuses, and if the infection goes to the intracranial dural venous sinuses, it may lead to the thrombosis, which may be fatal to the life. Now the another condition that is called the safety valve hematoma, cephalohematoma, and the caput succedia. So these are the three conditions which are related with the scalp. So what is safety valve hematoma? We will see. So whenever there is a fracture of the cranial wall, okay, mostly fracture हो गया तो mostly it is associated with the tearing of the dura mater and the pericranium. So in such cases, what happened? The blood from the intracranial hemorrhage, they are communicated with the subaponeurotic space of this scalp through this fracture line. And a dura mater का tear हो गया तो जो भी अंदर इंट्राक्रैनियल में जो भी हेमरेजेस है वो बाहर आ जाएंगे थ्रू दी फ्रैक्चर लाइन. ओके, सो द साइंस ये अगर बाहर आ गए तो यू विल गेट द साइंस ऑफ सेरिब्रल कॉम्प्लेक्स, जो भी सेरिब्रल कॉम्प्रेशन रहेगा that do not develop until the subaponeurotic space it is fully filled. समझ में आया क्या? ये जब भी इंट्राक्रैनियल हेमरेज होएगा विथ फ्रैक्चर लाइन एंड ए फ्रैक्चर ऑफ स्कल वॉल भी रहेगा तो जो भी इंट्राक्रैनियल हेमरेज रहेगा दैट विल ooze इन द subaponeurotic space, यानी जो आपकी ये लूज एरियोलर की स्पेस जो है इसमें आएगा थ्रू फ्रैक्चर लाइन. अब इंट्राक्रैनियल हेमरेज हो रहा है क्रैनियम के अंदर, ये बाहर भी आ रहा है, तो जब तक ये बाहर की जगह को फुल्ली पूरा भरेगा नहीं तब तक वो बहता रहेगा बाहर की तरफ. अगर बाहर की लेयर फुल्ली तरफ भर गई तो ये कलेक्शन जो रहेगा वो अंदर रहेगा, अंदर कलेक्शन भरते जाएगा तो इट विल कॉम्प्रेस द ब्रेन. सो व्हेनेवर देयर विल बी कॉम्प्रेशन ऑफ द ब्रेन, यानी बाहर की लेयर भरने के बाद अंदर जब कॉम्प्रेशन होगा तब विल यू गेट द signs of the cerebral compression. Okay, so that's why this layer it is called the safety, यानी ये जो भी कलेक्शन रहेगा ऊपर की सुपर लेयर ऑफ लूज एरियोलर टिश्यू में that is called the safety valve hematoma, क्योंकि it will providing the space to ooze this fluid or to ooze this blood in the subaponeurotic space, यानी ये टाइम पीरियड बढ़ा रहा है for the development of the
साइंस ऑफ द सेरिब्रल कॉम्प्रेशन. अगर ये यहाँ पे यूज नहीं होगा फ्रैक्चर की लाइन पे, तो डायरेक्टली द फ्लूइड और ब्लड जो भी कलेक्टेड है दैट विल बी डायरेक्टली कलेक्टेड इन द cranium and that will early causes the signs of the cerebral compression. So that's why ये जो भी intracranial hemorrhage का hematoma आपके लूज एरियोलर टिश्यू में कलेक्ट हो रहा है, so it will act as a safety valve hematoma. So it will prolong or it gives the time to develop the signs of the cerebral and signs of the compression of the cerebral यानी cerebral injury के compression के आपको टाइम देता है. So it cannot be, there is not appearing early sign and symptoms of the cerebral compression. So that's why it is called the safety valve hematoma. ये समझ में आया कि आपको what is safety valve hematoma? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
So we will go ahead. Now what is the another condition? It is the cephalohematoma. So what is cephalohematoma? So here again there is the subperiosteal collection of the blood. So as you know, periosteum of the skull, it is we have seen that it is covers the bone of the skull except the suture line. Where it is firmly attached to the suture line with the help of the suture membrane. So whenever there is the hematoma, it is bound by the suture line. Whenever the hematoma, it is bound by the suture line, where it is firmly adherent to the sutures. So here our यहाँ पे कोरोनल सुचर, लैम्ब्रॉइड सुचर, ये सुचर के लिमिटेड एरिया में अगर आपको हेमाटोमा मिलता है, so that will adhere or you can assume the shape of the related bone. Now this cephalohematoma, it is mostly limited to the suture line. It is nothing but the collection of the blood. Okay, but it is mostly limited to the suture line area. It takes the shape of the related bone. It is firm and its edges, they are well defined as it is limited to the suture line. So cephalohematoma, it is mostly appearing on the parietal region. Then there is the another condition that is called the caput succeedium. Here again there is the subcutaneous, you can see here, this is the cephalohematoma. So this is the suture line. You can see here, this is the suture line. Here also suture line. So it is limited to the area up to the suture line. But caput succeedium, it is not so. It is the subcutaneous hematoma over the presenting part of the head. Mostly it occurs during the time of the delivery. So it takes place whenever there is the passage of the head through the birth canal, and this appear due to the interference of the venous return. So caput succeedium, it is not a injury, it is the normal clinical condition when it appears over the scalp of the newborn, when it travels to the birth passage, or when the baby is delivered. So here you can see there is the compression of venous return. So interference due to interference of the venous return की वजह से you will get the subcutaneous edema over the scalp, or you can say over the scalp region. That is called the caput succeedium. So here you can see in the diagram, it crosses or it is spread throughout the scalp. It crosses the suture line. As the affected part of the scalp, it feels soft and the margins, they are partially defined. Generally here the edema subsides in the few days. So here you can see the margins, they are ill-defined in caput succeedium. It is appearing due to interference with the venous return. There is no defined margin in caput succeedium. Okay, and it is the normal procedure mostly at the during the labor period, labor, or you can say the birth, passing of the baby to the birth canal. And the cephalohematoma, it is the birth, you can say it is the injury. Here it is localized swelling, it has a limited area, it marked with the suture line. And here the margins, they are well defined with this cephalohematoma. So this is about the applied aspect of the scalp. Now coming to the Another part, that is the cephalohydrocele. So here the hydrocele, it is mostly concerned with the cerebrospinal fluid. So that is the accumulation of the CSF in the subaponeurotic space. Then it is called the cephalohydrocele. Then we have seen that cephalohematoma. So subperiosteal collection of the blood, it is called the cephalohematoma. Now coming to the nerve supply of the scalp. So it is very important nerve supply of the scalp. The scalp has sensory nerve supply and a motor nerve supply. So scalp on each side of the midline, it is supplied by the 8 sensory nerve that are 4 in front. You can see in the diagram, 4 in front and 4 behind the ear or behind the auricle. So nerves in front of the auricle, they are derived from the trigeminal nerve, and the nerves behind the ear, they are derived from the second and third cervical nerve. So we are seeing first the sensory nerve supply. So total 8 sensory nerve on each side. Out of 8, 4 sensory nerve in front of the ear and 4 sensory nerve behind the ear. So 4 sensory nerve in front of the ear, they are derived from the trigeminal nerve, and 4 sensory nerve behind the ear, they are derived from the second and the third cervical nerve. So what are the areas what are the nerves which are supplying the sensory nerves to the scalp? So in front of auricle, we will see, first you can see this is the supratrochlear nerve. You can see just 2 nerves, they are coming from the forehead. These are the supratrochlear and the supraorbital. So supratrochlear, it is a branch of the ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve. Supraorbital, it is also the branch from the frontal nerve from the ophthalmic division of the trigeminal nerve. Then third nerve, it is the zygomaticotemporal nerve. Again, it is the branch from zygomatic nerve from the maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. ये दो हो गया ophthalmic, ये हो गई maxillary division of the trigeminal nerve. Then fourth one, it is the auriculotemporal nerve, which is the branch from the mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. Trigeminal nerve की 3 divisions है, ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular. तीनों डिवीजन से एक एक ब्रांच आ रही है. फर्स्ट 2 ब्रांचेस, दे आर फ्रॉम द ऑप्थेल्मिक डिवीजन. देन सेकंड, दैट इज zygomatic-temporal branch, it is from the that is the zygomatic nerve from the maxillary branch, and auriculotemporal, it is from the mandibular division of the trigeminal nerve. Then behind the auricle, so just behind the auricle, there is the one nerve that is called the great auricular nerve, which is derived from the ventral rami of the second and the third cervical nerve. Ventral rami of second and third cervical nerve. Then there is another nerve that is called the lesser occipital nerve, which is derived from the ventral ramus of the second cervical nerve. Then there is the another nerve that is called the greater occipital nerve, which is derived from the dorsal ramus of the second cervical nerve. And the fourth one, it is the third occipital nerve, which is derived from the dorsal ramus of the third cervical nerve. So this is about the sensory supply of the skull. Okay, so we have seen that total 8 nerves are there, 4 in front, 4 behind. In front, they are derived from the trigeminal nerve, and behind, they are derived from the second and the third cervical nerve. Now coming to the motor supply of the scalp. So motor supply of the scalp, mostly on each side, it is supplied by the 2 motor nerves. You can see one in front and one behind. Okay, so these 2 branches, they are derived from the facial nerve. So now in front of the ear, it is the temporal branch of the facial nerve. It supplies the frontal belly of the occipitofrontalis muscle. Then behind the ear, it is the posterior auricular branch of the facial nerve, which supplies the occipital belly of the frontalis muscle. So this is about sensory and the motor. Then coming to the arterial supply. So as you know, the scalp has a very rich blood supply. So one on each side of the midline, it is supplied by the 5 arteries. You can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the posterior aspect. It is 1, it is the 5. So 3 in front of the auricle and the 2 behind the auricle. Okay, so this is the now blood supply of the scalp. So you can see in front of the auricle there is again the name is same, that is the supratrochlear and the supraorbital. So supratrochlear, it is the branch of the ophthalmic artery from the internal carotid artery. Then supraorbital, it is the branch from the ophthalmic artery from the internal carotid artery. And the third one, that is the superficial temporal artery, which is the branch from the external carotid artery. So these are the 3 branches in front of the ear. Behind the ear, there is another, that is the posterior auricular artery, which is the branch from the external carotid artery. And the last one, that is from the posterior aspect, that is the occipital artery, that is from branch from the external carotid artery. So this is the blood supply of the scalp. So one point is you have to remember that here the supratrochlear artery, it enters the scalp around the supraorbital margin. So you can say we have seen that the point that the blood travel from the periphery to center. यानी ये जो periphery part है, जो margin of the scalp दिख रही है, तो यहाँ से ये center में जाता है. तो जब भी यहाँ पे injury होएगी, तो as you know the vessel, यानी blood vessel की जो wall है, that is firmly adherent to the fibrous tissue. So ये तो अपने आप retract होने वाली नहीं है, as it is firmly adherent to the fibrous tissue. So to stop the blood, we have to apply a tourniquet to the periphery of the scalp. यानी ये जो आपका forehead का एरिया है, यहाँ पे आपको प्रेशर अप्लाई करना है या टर्निक्वेट टाई करना है. तो जो भी ब्लड पेरिफेरी से सेंटर में फ्लो हो रहा है, that will be prevented and here the blood loss will be stopped. So this is the important point, or it is the important to know the flow of the blood. So here the supratrochlear artery, it enters the scalp around the supraorbital margin, mostly beneath the lateral to the midline. Then another, that is supratrochlear, again it is enter here into the scalp through supraorbital notch. Then superficial temporal artery, it enters the scalp in front of the root of the zygoma. And here it divides into the anterior and the posterior branches. Then there is the posterior auricular artery, it enters the scalp behind the root of the ear. And occipital artery, it enters midway between the ear and the external occipital protuberance. So these are the blood supply of the scalp. Now what is the clinical importance of the blood supply of the scalp? So as you know, the scalp wound, they bleed profusely. Why this is so? As they bleed profusely, they heal also quickly because of the high vascularity of the scalp. So here the alveoles, another condition part, that is the जो भी आपका alveoles part of the portion of the scalp है, that should not be cut away. So it is pasted over the scalp. It is stitched or keep in position stitch. So it will heal profusely. That's why we have saying that the alveoles portion of the scalp, it is not cut. जो जैसा भी scalp का skin निकल गया है, कितना भी कैसा भी skin निकल गया है, that will be put in the position and stitch. It will heal quickly because of this rich or the profuse blood supply of the scalp. Then all the arteries which are supplying to the scalp, they are entering to the below, they are entering from the periphery, that is from below above, that is from face to the scalp. Okay, so whenever the scalp flap, it is removed. यानी जब भी ऑपरेशन करना है क्रेनियोटॉमी के वक्त, तो scalp flap, it is removed, or you can say the incision, it is given in the center, and the scalp, it is removed or it is reflected towards the periphery. यानी आपको जो भी incision देना है वो vertex पे and the upper part of the scalp में देना है. scalp को divide करना है 4 part में, और जो scalp flap जो रहेगा, that you have to remove towards the periphery part. So this is another again clinical part. So that why this is so, because we have seen that the vessels they are entering from the periphery. So जो भी vessel का stem जो है that will lie periphery. So with the this type of reflecting scalp flap will keep the blood supply of the stem blood supply. यानी जो भी blood vessel का stem है उसका blood supply यानी उसका flow intact करेगा. जो भी इंसिजन के वक्त जो भी ब्रांचेस ब्रेक होएगी दैट विल नॉट हैम्पर द मेन ब्लड स्ट्रीम. ओके, क्योंकि ये जो आपने जो सुप्राट्रोक्लियर सुप्रा ऑर्बिटल जो ब्लड वेसल्स देखी दे आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द फेस. अगर नीचे से कट करते हैं तो दैट विल डायरेक्टली हैम्पर द ब्लड सप्लाई टू द स्काल्प. तो नीचे से आपका जो मेन स्टेम है वही कट जाएगा. So that's why the incision they are given from the center and flaps they are reflected to the periphery. So again, the all superficial injuries applying the scalp they are ascend threatening scalp hemorrhage. These can be stopped by the applying the tourniquet over the encircling the head just above the ears and the eyebrows. So again, this is the clinical importance of the blood supply of the scalp. Now coming to the venous drainage. Again, venous drainage, it is important. It is separately asked, the venous drainage of the scalp. So venous drainage of the scalp and the venous drainage of the face almost same. You should know thoroughly. It is also asked in the viva. The scalp on each side of the midline, mostly it is drained by the 5 veins. So these veins, they are accompanying the arteries and they have the similar neck. So you can see here the supratrochlear and the supraorbital veins. You can see here the supratrochlear and the supraorbital vein, they join each other at the, you can see this is the medial angle of the eye. So to form here, both the veins, they join to form the angular vein. Now this angular vein, it runs downward as a facial vein. You can see here, this is the facial vein. Behind the, it is mostly present behind the facial artery. Now you can see another vein, that is the superficial temporal vein, which is present at the in front of the ear. So here this superficial temporal vein, it descends in front of the tragus and here it enter into the parotid gland. So in the parotid gland, it join with the maxillary vein. You can see this is the horizontal part, this is the maxillary vein. So here superficial temporal vein join with the maxillary vein within the substance of the parotid gland. So here it forms the very important vein that is called the retromandibular vein. Now this retromandibular vein, it terminates into 2 parts by dividing into anterior and the posterior division. So यहाँ पे you can say it divides into anterior and the posterior division. So anterior division, you can see this anterior division, it joins with the facial vein to form the common facial vein. And this common facial vein, it drains into the internal jugular vein. Now here another vein is there, that is the posterior auricular vein, which is descends behind the ear. Okay, ये ear के पीछे से आ रही है. Now this posterior auricular vein, it joined with the posterior division of the retromandibular vein and it forms the external jugular vein. Now this external jugular vein, it drains into the subclavian vein. And there are some occipital veins which are terminate into the suboccipital venous plexus. Now these veins of the scalp, mostly they are connected or communicated with the intracranial dural venous sinuses with the emissary vein. Okay, so in infants, these veins of the scalp, they are easily seen deep to the skin. Hence, the intravenous injections, they are given to the intravenous infusion over through the scalp. Then there are emissary veins. What are the? ये समझ में आया venous drainage? So here supraorbital, supratrochlear join to form the angular vein. Okay. Angular vein, it is continue as a facial vein. Facial vein, it is just behind the facial artery. Then here superficial temporal vein, it joined with the maxillary vein to form the retromandibular vein. Retromandibular vein, it is divided into two veins. It is divided into two parts, that is anterior division and posterior division. Anterior division joined with the facial vein to form the common facial vein. Common facial vein, it drain into the internal jugular vein. Then another vein, that is the posterior auricular vein. Posterior auricular vein joined with the posterior division of this retromandibular vein and to form the external jugular vein, which drains into the subclavian vein. So you have to draw this diagram and write all these parts when asked the venous drainage of the face or the scalp. Now coming to the emissary veins. So emissary veins, they are the veins connecting the scalp vein to the cranial vein. So with the help of this emissary vein, and a scalp vein, they are connected with the intracranial dural venous sinuses with the help of veins that are called the emissary veins. So emissary veins. So there are two emissary veins, that is the parietal emissary veins, which travel through this parietal foramen and communicate with the superior sagittal sinus. Then there are another part, that is the mastoid emissary veins, which travel through the mastoid foramen and connected to the sigmoid sinus. Now there are the diploic veins. So diploic veins, mostly they are the veins of the skull cap, and जो diploic veins जो भी रहेगी, that are present in between the table of the bones. So you know that when you see the cut section of the vault of the skull, so there are two parts, that is the outer table and the inner table. So these diploic veins, they are present in the you can say the cranial vault, outer and the inner plates of the skull vaults. So here they are connecting mostly the intracranial dural venous sinuses. So these are the wall-less veins, and they are communicate with each other, draining which they are communicating the veins which are draining the scalp and the cranial vault. So this is about the diploic vein. You can read all these parts in the PPT. Then coming to the lymphatic drainage. So lymphatic drainage, mostly the lymphatics from here part of the scalp, it is drained into the pre-auricular part of the lymph node, and then the posterior part of the scalp, it is draining into the posterior auricular and the occipital group of lymph nodes. So this is almost all about the scalp. Now there is another region that is called the temple. Temple, it is the area of the side of the skull between the superior temporal line and the zygomatic arch. And probably this is known as this area, it is known as the temple. There are some addition of 1 to 2 layers in this area. So layers of the soft tissue in the area of the temple, they are the skin, connective tissue, extension of epicranial aponeurosis. Then there is the temporal fascia, then there is the temporalis muscle and the pericranium. So all these layers, 2 layers, they are added, that is the temporal fascia and the temporalis muscle. Now I have given you the extra part, that is the some clinical parts. I have repeated here. So open wounds of the skull, they bleed profusely. We have seen that. Then there is the scalp swelling, they are painful. Why so? Because the second layer, that is the loose areolar tissue, second layer, that is the dense connective tissue. Here the fibrous strands of the dense connective tissue layer, they restricts the expansion of the subcutaneous hemorrhage. That's why the swelling over the scalp, they are painful. Then there are we have seen that the scalp, it is the common site for the sebaceous cyst, as the scalp is associated with the several as much as hair follicles, and any blockade in excretion of the secretion of the sebaceous gland lead to formation of the sebaceous cyst. And sebaceous cyst, the commonest size for the sebaceous cyst, it is the scalp. Then suturing of the scalp. mostly here applied the silk suture. They are applied over the scalp to approximate the cut ends of the scalp wound. Mostly they are the non-absorbable suturing material. So mostly it is Mersilk. This is the market name. It is the Mersilk, which is used to stitch the wound of the scalp. Then medico-legal importance of the scalp wound, mostly gala aponeurotica, or the it is involved and it is cut in the grievous injury. Mostly it is inflicted with the blunt or the sharp weapon. So this wound has an incised margin of the gala aponeurotica. So this will add into the medico-legal importance of the scalp wound. So we have to describe the wound whenever there appears the police case or some part. So whenever there is the incised margin of this gala aponeurotica wound, so it can be, you have give the diagnosis that the wound may be caused by the blunt or the sharp weapon. So you can see with the help of this wound, okay, with the and उसकी margin sharp, उसकी margin कैसी है ये देख के you can decide the wound caused by blunt weapon or the sharp weapon. So you have to give this part in the medico-legal cases. We have seen the emissary veins. So through these emissary veins, the infection of the scalp can spread by these veins to cause the meningitis or the dural venous sinus thrombosis. We have also seen the black eye. So direct black eye, mostly it is direct injury to the or direct blow on the eye causing blackish discoloration. And indirect black eye, it is the grievous injury which causes hemorrhages in subaponeurotic layer. So it is traveled through the scalp. That is the indirect black eye. Then traumatic cephalohydrocele, so fracture of the skull vault and tearing of the meninges, which causes the escape of cerebrospinal fluid over the scalp. So that is called the cephalohydrocele. Cephalohematoma we have seen. Then caput succedaneum also we have seen. Then another part, that is the molding, that is the shaping of the skull vault. So again this molding, it is the natural process. So in this, the baby's head, it is shaped during the labor as it is squeezed into and through the birth canal during the labor. So here, as you know, here the baby, there is the gap, you can say the bones, they are not connected. So here there is the space in between the skull vault bone. So that are called the fontanelle. That is the membranous gap is present between the two bones, flat bones. That is called the fontanelles. Anterior fontanelle, posterior fontanelle, and the lateral fontanelle. So there are the four fontanelles present over the skull bones. So what happened during the molding part or during the birth process, as there is the membranous part in between the bone. So there is a slight overlapping of these bones over each other, so that they will compress the skull size, or they will reduce the skull size and help in traveling through the birth passage. So that shaping of the skull bone, it is called the molding, and it is the normal procedure. Okay, so here the skull bone may overlap slightly at the suture line. So molding, it is the normal procedure. So here in the biparietal diameter, it is compressed as much as 0.5 centimeter without intracranial damage. Safety valve hematoma we have seen. Then again another condition, that is the cephalopelvic disproportion. So here again this is the obstetric condition where baby's head is too large or mother's birth canal is too small to permit the normal labor or the birth. So here the relative CPD, it is the relative cephalopelvic disproportion. Here the baby's head side, it is within the normal limit but larger than the average. Or the size of mother's birth canal, it is normal within the normal limit, or you can say smaller size. So here the relative जो भी cephalopelvic disproportion है, that will be overcome by the molding of the head, or you can say use of forceps during the labor. So this can be perform the normal delivery. But absolute cephalopelvic disproportion रहेगा, तो here head is the much more larger than the birth canal. So here the the labor choice or the birth of the baby can be done mostly by the cesarean section. So that is called the absolute cephalopelvic disproportion. So this is all about the scalp. Scalp पे long question आता है, so you have to prepare the question. Then there are the several points for the applied anatomy. You have to write all the points. Then sometimes the short note is asked for the nerve supply and the blood supply of the scalp and the face. And the venous drainage, it is almost asked in the Viva. So you should know about the venous drainage. So any difficulty in this part?
Thank you, ma'am.
There is no difficulty, so shall we close the meeting?
Yes, ma'am. Close कर देते हैं.
Okay.